Hello guys and welcome to a new video. My name is Kyo and today I'm gonna do a kind of deck list and breakdown of what's supposed to be the new top tier Master Duel deck, Swordsoul. I'm in Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega first to show some combos and whatnot. This is the list that I've been using. One Nibiru, one Protoss, uh, two Ashuna, one Vishuda, three Longyang, two Taya, two Moye, three Incredible Ecclesia, three Ash Blossom, two Ghost Bell and two Ghost Ogre, three Maxi, one Deskbot 001, two Alhara, three Desires, three Emergence, one Summit, two Vessels, two Called By, two Crossout, one Heavenly Dragon Circle, one Imperm, and one Blackout. And for the extra deck, we have one Baron de Fleur, one Shengying, one Xiaofeng, one Chen Chen, one Dragite, one Draco Berserker, two Xixiao, one Baxia, one Yazi, one Formula Synchron, two Monks of the Tenyu, of the Tenyu obviously, one Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon, and one Crystron Alchifabrax. Uh, First, going to give the one by one, starting with obviously the main ones, the Swordsoul cards. First we have in the Swordsoul package, the main package of the deck, we have Moye, Taya, Longyang, Emergence, and Summit. Moye is generally the starter, the normal summon of the deck, since it allows you to start your combos by revealing one of your Swordsoul or Worm cards in your hand. So you can reveal another Moye, you can reveal any of the Tennies or any of obviously the Swordsouls or even Protoss, and that will automatically start your combo. We also have Longyang, which is the best, one of the best ways to prevent Nibiru or any other type of hand trap when you haven't normal summoned yet and you want to go with Moye, or when you want to go the Moye route. So it's basically pitch something with to summon Longyang, summon Baron. Taya is more of an extender here, since you usually only use it either on your second turn, when you already have resources on the grave, or if you have done something with the tennies, or you're at the end of your combo that you started with Moye. Then we have three Emergence. Emergence is the search spell, the main search spell of the deck. It's good to get you any of your Swordsoul monsters that you need, or if you already have a Synchro on the board, you can go into Protoss or Ashuna or Vishuda or any other worm that you want. Then we have Sacred Summit, which it can be a bit of a break, but it's also very useful. It's the in archetype monster reborn of Swordsoul, uh, which allows you to revive any Swordsoul. But if you have a Synchro monster, you can revive any worm monster. So, for example, you already summoned correctly Protoss. Your opponent manages to get rid of your Protoss. Easy. You just use Summit and you can bring back Protoss, or your Synchro summoning away, for example, your Shishao. You can Synchro him away and then use Summit and bring him back. And finally, we have Blackout. Blackout is one of your is a disruption tool that allows you to destroy 2 cards from your opponent. It's a non-targeting destruction effect, which is very, very useful since nowadays cards have targeting protection and whatnot. Then for the Tenny package, the reason why I decided to run 2-1-2-2-1 it's because in my previous versions of the deck, I often opened cards that often opened a lot of the same tennies, and that resulted in me not being able to do much, which ended up being really bad for the deck. So, to Ishuna, to as an extender and a starter, Ishuna is very useful for both of those roles. Unfortunately, it has the downside that if you that the second effect locks you into worms, which yes, it can be a problem, but since you run mostly worms in the extra deck, there's not a big of a deal. Um, Vishuda has a way to remove cards from the field. Unfortunately, it targets, so uh, yeah, there are some cards that it might not be able to out, but it's still extremely good. I only play it as one because it's the brickiest of the Tenny stuff that you want to play, because it can only just work as a starter, as you special summon it, go into Monk, and then that's it. You cannot extend into something else like Ashuna. Then there's the 2 Adhara, which, same as the other ones, it's a great starter. You can special summon it when you don't have effect monsters face up on the field. So it's just free resources, and you usually use it to go into the Alk Auroradon combo, which I'll demonstrate later. Adhara also allows you to recycle your banished worms. So because of the second effects of each Tenny revolves them in being banished, you can, for example, use a Shuna, banish a Shuna, and then While you have, for example, Monk or Monk on the field, you can banish Adhara and add back Vishuddha. And if you have something like Longyang in the end and you haven't used it, you can activate Longyang, pitch Shuna, summon Longyang and a token, and then you can go into Shengying. Since at that point you're already locked into worms by Ashuna. And there's also Taya, which requires you to banish a worm or a Swordsoul card to special summon a token. Uh, then there's Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. Uh, this one allows you to put resources in the grave. So, for example, it combos well with Summit and with the other 10E cards. And if you have a non-effect monster in your field, you can add to your hand one of your 10Es. So, for example, you're going second, you manage to bait the negates of your opponent, and you want to get rid of the cards more easily. You just use Dragon Cycle, send something to the grave, like send Vishuddha or something else to the grave. If you don't send Vishuddha, you add Vishuddha, and then you trigger the effect, and then you use the effect of Vishuddha from hand, pitching itself to bounce back something else, uh, allowing you to clean the board better. And then we have another third, and then we have the final 10E card, Heavenly Dragon Circle. Uh, this card it is very, very good, uh, though I only play it at one, because it's the problem that it requires one worm monster in the field to tribute. Uh, so you tribute a worm, and then you were able to search for a worm in your deck. So you can tribute anything, any of your worms, both extra deck and main deck, and then you can search anything. So it's an easy Protoss, just like having a synchro monster and using emergence. Uh, it's a lot of easy cards. Now for the last main deck worm, Protoss. Protoss is a special one. In Master Duel, his power level is reduced quite a bit, but he's still extremely strong, since he's a floodgate. Uh, to summon him, you have to banish 3 monsters with different attributes, which you can easily do. Moe is water, Ecclesia, Shuna, Ghost Ogre are light, Longyang and Ash Blossom are fire. Taya is wind. Ghost Bell, Alhara, the Deskbot, Maxi are Earth, Vishuddha is Dark, so you don't have any problems with the attributes, except maybe if you have a bit too much light attribute in the grave, which it can be a problem, but I don't believe it happens that often. And then you have the effect of Protoss. It cannot be destroyed by card effects, so the only way to out it is by either bouncing it back or destroying it by battle or banishing it. And then its other effect is that you can declare one monster attribute, any monster attribute that's currently on the field, and and until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that attribute. So it's a good way to stop DP, and if you're in the mirror match, you can stop them from summoning the tokens, since all the tokens are waters. Uh, with that, you usually combo Protoss with Shanging, thanks to Shanging's destruction protection effect. So you keep your Shanging while stopping your opponent from summoning uh, water attributes. Uh, and it also destroys. It stops them from summoning monsters of the called attribute, and it also destroys the monsters from the called attribute. So more often than not, you'll be calling dark and water. Those are the two main attributes that you will call, thanks to the effect, thanks to the protection that Shanging and Protoss have. Uh, Now for the rest of the cards, the generic good stuff, we have Nibiru. Nibiru has no need for introduction, it's just really good versus any deck that special summons a lot. Uh, Same for Max C. Max C will allow you to draw into a lot of your disruption if you're versus a deck that special summons a lot. Ash Blossom, another form of disruption that the deck has. You can stop Maxi, you can stop any pot, you can stop a lot of stuff. Then we have Ghost Bell, a card that currently is starting to pick up more and more play in Master Duel. Ghost Bell stops any banishing effect, any monster reborn type effect, uh, and any effect that's as a card from the graveyard to the end deck or extra deck. So it stops pendulums, it stops a lot of stuff. And then finally we have for the monster segment, uh, we have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Uh, so Ghost Ogre is let me just get this stuff here. Sorry. Ghost Ogre is an interesting one. Uh, it's a way to pop cards from your opponent when he activates those cards. Unfortunately, it doesn't negate, so you have to play around it more. So you have to be careful with the effect. So what Ghost Ogre says is when a monster on the field activates its effects, or when a spell a trap that is already face up on the field activates, you can send this card from your end or field to the graveyard, destroy that card on the field. So it can also be used to out cards like Imperial Order or the Numeron field spell, which nowadays Master Duel has been having quite a lot. At least I've seen quite a lot of it in Diamond rank, and it's pretty annoying. Uh, yeah, and for the last monster in the deck, we have Deskbot 001. This card I'll talk more about once I go over the combos, since is one of the main pieces in the Alk Auroradon combo. Then for the spell and trap staples, we have 3 Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is the best pot for the deck. I've seen people run Pot of Prosperity, uh, which is really not the type of card that you want. In Swordsoul, you want to use all of your extra deck is a lot of precious resources, and it also and prosperity also has a downside that you cannot draw cards uh, in the turn that you activate prosperity. So you cannot get the Moye draw. You cannot, uh, which is a which is a massive problem. And for example, if your opponent activates Nibiru or Psyframe Gamma, you cannot draw. You cannot. You also cannot draw +2 with Maxi. So prosperity is horrendous, honestly. It's really not the best card for. It's really not the best bot for Swordsoul. Uh, Meanwhile, Extravagance, it's way too random, and once again, it targets your extra deck, which you already use quite a lot. So once again, it's a no-no. And same as Prosperity, you cannot. It stops you from drawing, so it's horrible. Making Desires the best pot for Swordsoul. Then we have Called by the Grave and Crossout Designator. Called by the Grave, it's the classic end trap disruption card. Your opponent tries to Ash Blossom you. You just say no with Called by the Grave. Tries to use Ghost Spell, tries to use Maxi, tries to use Snow Rabbit, tries to use Scythe, Veil, or whatever. Just say no. And then and Crossout Designator. It's something of the same, but it has more uses. Crossout Designator also stops Nibiru, it stops Imperm, it stops Token Collector. It stops a lot of cards, and it's very very valuable on the mirror match, because your opponent activates, for example, Moye. You just cross out Moye, and Moye just stops. Same thing for Longyang, same thing for Shunu, same thing for Vishuda, same thing for Taya, same thing for any of the other cards. And then finally we have Infinite Impermanence, another monster negates that it doesn't have that much. It doesn't need that much talking about. Everyone has used Impermanence to negate something, to to do all of that nonsense. You can also use it to negate spells and traps in the column that this card has been set, which everyone needs to remember that, because sometimes you just use one of your important spells in the impermanence column, and there goes your spell. You just wasted the spell. It negates both yours and your opponent's. It's a bit funny, honestly, and also ridiculous. Now for the extra deck, first we have the level 10s, which you usually access by using Longyang or the Alk Auroradon combo. First we have Burn the Floor. This card, as many have experienced, is extremely good. It's an Omni Negate once per face up on the field, so you can bounce it back. You can Book of Moon it and flip it back. It will regain its Omni Negate, but you can only use it once per face up. So you summon it, you use Omni Negate. You cannot use Omni Negate anymore unless you Book of Moon it or you bounce it back to the extra deck. I am not really sure about negating, but I imagine it does not affect the clause that it's once while face up on the field. And it also has a targeting a targeting destroying effect, which is also useful. And another extremely and finally for its third effect, which is probably the least used of them. It's is no sorry floating effect, which per standby phase, it doesn't matter if it's your standby phase or the enemy or your opponent's standby phase. You can return it to the extra deck and special summon one level 9 or lower monster from your graveyard. So, for example, you have a Moye on the grave and you just drew a worm and you already used Baron's Omni Negate. It's your standby phase. You can use Baron, flock into Moye. Baron goes back to the extra deck and Moye activates. You reveal the worm and you special summon the worm. Not the worm, the token. So it's pretty useful, and there are some nice stuff that you can do with it. Then we have the only currently available level 10 Synchro monster for the Swordsoul archetype, Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Shenging, and this guy is pretty good. It's I have no idea if it's better than Baron, but it's still pretty good. It increases its attack and defense per banished card. It doesn't matter if it's in your banished pile or the enemy's or your opponent's banished pile. Both banished piles count for the for its effects, and it also makes the opponent lose attack and defense for each banished card. So it's pretty useful to reduce your opponent's damage and whatnot. And then it has a protection effect, a destruction protection effect, which allows you to banish one card from your graveyard instead of destroying this card. So it makes a good pair with cards like Protoss. He also protects himself from DP. It's overall really useful. And then for its final effect, if a card is banished except during the damage step, you can banish one card from both your opponent's field and graveyard. So imagine that your opponent has used DP target Shanging. Shanging will protect itself, and DP will go to the graveyard. You will be able to banish something on his field, and then you can banish his DP, stopping DP from ever returning. And you can only use this effect, this banishing effect, once per turn. While the protection effect, you can keep using it, same, and the attack and defense modulation effect is, well, permanent. Except if it gets impermed or skill drained or whatever. Then we have the level 9s of the deck, Xiaofeng, Phantom of the Yangzing, and Virtual World QB Shanshan. First of all, starting with the worm, Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng is a card that you'll rarely go into, but it's still really useful. Because when it's synchro summoned, you will be able to stop your opponent from using the effects of the Yangzing monsters that were used to synchro summon him. So you usually want to synchro summon Xiaofeng with Baxia or Yazi. Mainly Baxia, to stop cards like Nibiru and whatnot. Nibiru, Ghost Ogre, Shuna, Ecclesia, the list goes on. And it also has the second effect. It also has another effect that when it's destroyed by battle or card effects after it was synchro summoned successfully, and it's sent to the graveyard, you can add one tuner from your deck. So it's a search into any of your ghost girls. So you can get Ghost Bell, Ghost Ogre, and Ash Blossom simply by just having Xiaofeng being destroyed, which it's extremely useful. You can also add in you can also add in 001 and Adara, but those two are the least likely for you to add. You'll mostly add the correct ghost girl for the occasion. And it also has the effect that once per turn, when a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one worm monster from your deck in defense position whose original attribute matches the original attribute that one of those destroyed monsters had on the field. So it can be a way to get to another of your Moye, or get to one of your Tennis or Taya. I recommend not going into Longyang that much, except in some certain situations that I'll talk soon. And now for the last level 9, we have Shanshan, which is a dimensional fissure on legs, which is pretty useful sometimes. Well, sometimes, yeah, sometimes. Shanshan also has the following effects. When your monster declares an attack, you can return one banished monster to the owner's graveyard. So you mostly use this to recycle the cards that you'll banish with Protoss or Pot of Desires and Taya and cross out. So you'll never run out of resources. And then it also has effects During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish 2 monsters from your graveyard with different original types and attributes from each other. Special summon this card from the graveyard, so it keeps returning, it keeps being a nuisance to your opponent. You will usually to access Shan, you go Taya, banish either Emergence or Summit, which will allow you to modulate either Taya's level or the token's level, making it possible for you to get one of them level 5, and then that makes an easy level 9 Synchro. And now for the level 8 Synchros, we have an Emancipator Reason Dragite, Draco Berserker of the 10E, Swordsoul Grandmaster Xixiao, and Baxia, Brightness of the Yangzing. Starting with Dragite. Dragite is used mainly to be a spell negate on this deck, since it only requires one water type monster, one water attribute monster in your grave to be able to stop any spell used, except if it's something like Droplet or Dark Ruler. And you'll usually have a water in the grave because of Moye. Its other effect is it doesn't come up much. It honestly rarely comes up because it requires you to activate 5 cards of your deck, and any number of, and then you can bounce any card on the deck based on the number of rocks that you excavated. So at maximum you will only bounce 1 card, which that will happen very rarely, but at least it allows you to go through your cards, rearrange your deck, and probably get a better draw. Then we have Draco Berserker of the 10E, the second big beater of the deck. It's only second because Shanging ends up being ridiculously big if Pot of Desires is used and his effects and whatnot. Draco Berserker banishes any monster that activates its effect. So for example, if your opponent activates an end trap, you can chain Draco Berserker to it and banish it. Same goes for anything on the field. It doesn't matter. Your opponent activates a monster effect, Draco Berserker banishes it. Then you have its second effect. If this card destroys an effect monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, keyword here being sends it to the graveyard, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. So it doesn't matter if your opponent's monster has suffered some stat modulation regarding its attack, Draco Berserker will always get the original attack. So, for example, Shanging has 3,500 attack thanks to its effects, and you had KO'd a monster and you had destroyed a monster before with Draco Berserker that makes him bigger than Shanging. Draco Berserker will be able to attack over Shanging, and he will get 3000 attack and not the 3050. And also this effect allows him to make a second attack. Both effects are once per turn, so if you go for the battle of so you cannot board wipe with Draco Berserker, which will have been pretty disgusting if we're going to be honest. Then we have two Swordsoul Grandmaster Xixiao. Xixiao is your go-to level 8 synchro when you want to start your combos, when you go first mainly. Xixiao, when he's synchro summoned, it will allow you to either add to your hand or banish one Swordsoul card from your deck. So you can either add, so for example, you use Moye to special summon it. You can add Longyang or Emergence to your hands. Uh, sorry. Uh, and then his other effects, which is a quick effect, you can banish one Swordsoul card or one Worm card from uh, your hand or graveyard, uh, and then target one other effect monster, negate the effects of that monster, which it's pretty useful. And then, but finally we have the clause for all of this, making Xixiao not as great as he could be, and it's you can only use one effect of Xixiao per turn, and only once. So if you use the effect to add the cards from your deck when it's synchro summoned, you cannot use the effect to negate a monster in that turn. I haven't done uh, I haven't done enough experimentation to see if with two Xixiao it will allow you to add a card and also negate a card. But I imagine it probably will not be. It probably is not something that you can do. And finally, we have Baxia, Brightness of the Yangzing, another great form of card removal. Since when it's synchro summoned, you can bounce back cards on the field equal to the amount of different attributes of worms used for discard special summons. So you usually want to summon it with Taya, since Taya is wind the and the Swordsoul tokens are water, so you have two bounces. But you can also summon it with Moye, but unfortunately you only have one bounce, which is kind of alright, I guess. Uh, it can be pretty use. It depends on the situation, honestly. Now for the only level 7, we have Yazi, Evil of Yangzing. This card cannot be targeted by your opponent's effects. So then so your opponent cannot imperm it or yeah, use other effects that target. I'm sorry for this sloppy mess, but yeah, sometimes it's a bit to explain. And now for the juicy part of Yazi, Yazi can target one Yangzing monster you control and one card your opponent's controls and destroy them. This is really good because sometimes you target Yazi, destroy it, and destroy another opponent, and then its second effect activates when this card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard. You can special summon one worm monster from your deck in defense position, so it can float into any of your Swordsoul, any of your Tenny. You know the drill by now. You can also use it to destroy Baxia and Xiaofeng and trigger their other effects. For example, the Baxia effect that's... wait, I'm sorry, it's not working that well. Completely skipped over one of the Baxia's effects, but you can use Yazi uh, to use Xiaofeng's effect to search any of your hand traps. And that's it. Yazi is really nice. Then we have Formula Synchron for the last Synchro monster. You don't Synchro summon this through usual ways. You end up Synchro summoning it through Alki's effect. But first, the white Formula Synchron is in the deck. First, it's when you use Alki to summon it, you'll get the free draw, which it's good. And then you also have the quick effect Synchro summon, so it's the middle of your opponent's turn, and then you can Synchro summon with it, so you can get to Baxia bouncing one, because when you use form because you need a level 6 to use Formula Synchro with to summon Baxia or Draco Berserker or Shishao. So you'll use Longyang most likely, and then you also have and you'll most likely also special summon Shanshan, which you'll access with both Vishuda and Ashuna, together with Formula Synchron. And not you'll rarely go into Xiaofeng because Xiaofeng is better summoned with cards like Baxia, and yeah, you can also use Yazi with Formula Synchron to summon Xiaofeng. Now for the Link monsters, we have two Monk of the Tenny. You standards for your Tenny combos, and then we have Alkifabrax and Auroradon. These two are basically a free level 10 synchro, depending on your situation. They allow you to get a lot of advantage. Now you can see here that on this section that says side, I've put some cards that can be used in the deck. First we have the 3 Tenny card, 3 more Tenny cards: Draco Masters, Shaman, and Shtana. First, starting with Shtana, Shtana shares the same effect as the other Tenny main deck monsters, that you can special summon it through. You can special summon it from your hand when you don't control any effect monsters. But then you have its second effect that you can banish it from your hand or graveyard, target a monster that destroyed one of your non-effect monsters. So, for example, you have a monk or a token in you can destroy the monster that destroys either the monk or the token, and then you can special summon the monster. Uh, Draco Berserker, well, yeah, Draco Berserker is kind of a useful monster in a way. It it has battle protection against effect monsters, and if you have no other effect monsters, you can also uh, pop as many effect monsters your opponent controls as you have non-effect monsters in your graveyard. So you usually access Draco Masters after you have two monks in the graveyard, so you have two pops instead of only one or maybe none. Uh, and since it's a per turn effect, you can keep popping uh, continuing with your turns, and yeah, it's helpful to some degree. You usually go for Draco Masters after if you it's not after, sorry, if you don't have any synchro plays available and you already have uh, around two two link monsters in your field or something like that, or tennies. And then we have Shaman of the Tenny. Uh, she's also pretty good. Her first effect is kind of a revival effect. You can pitch a card from your hand to target a worm in your graveyard and special summon it, but with a restriction that you cannot activate effects of monster special summon from your extra deck except Tenny monsters. So when you use her, if you want to go for a synchro play, you go for Draco Berserker because you will be able to use the effects of Draco Berserker, or you go into Draco Masters. She's still really helpful. And then her second effect, when an attack is declared involving your face-up non-effect monster, so your monks or one of your tokens, um, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. This is also really helpful. You can stop it if it's attacking into you. You can stop the attack by popping the opponent monster, or if you're attacking into them, you can attack an eye uh, attack monster, pop that monster, and then you can redirect the attack or just attack a monster with less attack and pop the monster with a lot of attack. It's useful, but Urlock into only 10 monsters can activate their special effects is it ends up being a bit detrimental, especially because the deck doesn't run that many extra deck tennies. Then we have the uh, Artifact Scythe package with Artifact Scythe and Wonder Magician. I forgot to put here Dagda, but Dagda is also useful to get Scythe on the field. Scythe has no need to for explanation. Everyone knows what it does. It stops your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck for the rest of the turn when it's special summoned. And then we have Wonder Magician, which when it's synchro summoned, so you'll mainly access it through Alki Fabrics, you can pop one spell trap on the field. So you can pop a Scythe that will be set, then summoning it and locking your opponent. And when this card is destroyed, you can also draw one card, so it's also a plus for your resources. Then you can also use it to synchro summon something. You can argue that you can run this instead of Formula Synchron. Honestly, both are good, and if you want to run the Scythe package, you swap Formula Synchron for it, and probably swap Aurora Dawn for Dagda, just so you you will be sacrificing part of your massive Aurora Dawn combo, but you'll be able to Scythe lock your opponent. Then we have Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and Psyframe Lord Omega. Both these cards share the same purpose, and it's to end loop your opponent. Both banish one card from your opponent's end and field. It's annoying to deal with sometimes, and Trishula also has the added benefit that it also banishes from the graveyard. But yeah, it's still really good. Both Trishula and Omega being a level 8, so you're more easily to summon it than Trishula because, well, most of your monsters are level 4s that easily can get into level 4 special summons, and level 7s with level 1s, and so on. It's a nice, neat package for end looping and seeing what your opponent is playing, so you can preemptively prepare for what you're facing, especially in a best of one format. So you know what you can Protoss and whatnot, thus increasing the value of Protoss. And then we have the O-Lion Yang Zing package. This package you usually go with access it with Aurora Dawn. So you're at the end of you already used Aurora Dawn. You already summoned Aurora Dawn and summoned back the desk bot. But and then instead of immediately going into level 10 synchro, you can use Aurora Dawn to special summon the O-Lion, use the O-Lion and one of the Aurora Dawn tokens to synchro summon into Danglong. Danglong will search for 9 pillars, which is an enemy negate. Then you use Danglong to pitch most likely one of your 10Es. one of your level 7 tennies to increase its level to level 8, use it to synchro summon with Deskbot, either to Shishao or Draco Berserker or whatnot. Then Denglong will special summon Shiwen from your deck, allowing you to use Shiwen and the level 8 that you just synchro summoned to go into Xiaofeng, granting you a light effect block, an Omni Negate, and an End Trap, thanks to Xiaofeng's effect. If you run this little engine, it's more likely that you brick, but the payoff is also great. Usually when you do this, I would argue that you would remove the Formula Synchron from the extra deck for the Denglong. It depends, honestly. Then we have three nice hand traps: Token Collector for the mirror match, Lancia to stop any deck that focus a lot in banishing, and Effect Veiler to, well, negate the effect of face-up monsters. All of them don't need introduction, they're very well known. Well, maybe not Token Collector, because Token Collector is just getting popularity now. Token Collector is basically a floodgate for any token decks. It stops the summoning of tokens and it destroys all the tokens whenever it is special summoned, either from the grave or the hand. So it's more problematic than other cards, but it can get called by if it's summoned from if they attempt to summon it from the grave. So at least there's that. And finally, another synchro, a level 8 synchro that's generic. This also helps with the mirror match, Crimson Blader, thanks to its effect that stops your opponent from normal or special summoning level 5 or higher monsters next turn. So if you're versus another Swordsoul, they cannot get into Longyang, they cannot access anything in their extra deck, they cannot get into their Danny stuff, they cannot get into Protoss, they just can't do anything. So Crimson Blader is definitely really useful. Right now in the meta, it does not have that many uses except for exactly this one, the mirror match. Though in the future it will most likely become more used when the archetype Floowandereeze gets introduced, and their boss monster of Floowandereeze and Empen get added to the game. Since Empen is a monster with a big level, it's I'm sorry, I never counted the level. It's it's also level 10. Sorry about this one. So yeah, it can stop the summon of Empen and Snow and Snow. It can also stop the summoning of Mega Ryza, which is also another monster that Floowandereeze runs, because it's a winged beast. Other decks that it can also help with is if you're facing the bird up version of tribe brigades that usually summons Apex Avian. A really annoying card, honestly. But when you face that deck, they'll most likely only go for Apex Avian in their first turn. Like, if they go first, not when they go second. It also can stop the summoning of I'm sorry, DP and so on. It has its uh, its niche effects in the meta. It's it's not terrible. It definitely is good, but it's also not good enough to run it as a staple. Uh, though it gets used quite a bit when you don't run a link package as big as 4 link monsters. Maybe only when you don't run a link package is when you run, uh, when you always run Crimson Blader. Same with Trishula and Omega, plus an extra Boxia. Now I'll show some test stands to exemplify some of the combos that you can do when that you can do depending on the answers that you get. We'll do around 5 test stands, something like that. So in this end, we have Ecclesia, Maxi, Adara, Crossout, and Emergence. Crossout will be your savior mainly. If your opponent attempts to stop you from comboing and whatnot. So usually I would go summon Adara, link Adara off. Now here's where it gets tricky because you summon Ecclesia and you can either go into the Alki line or you can use Ecclesia to summon Moye, reveal the Emergence, and proceed to summon all your stuff. For the sake of it, I'm going for the Moya line, paging the Ecclesia to summon the Moye. Moye reveals Emergence, which special summons a token. Then it allows you to special summon. In this case, you'll most likely go into Xishao. Xishao summoned. Here, it depends if you already use your crossout or not. If you have used your crossout, you mainly want to go Chain Link 1 Xishao, Chain Link 2 Moye. But if you haven't used your crossout, you kind of don't care which will be your chain link order. And also, if you use your crossout on an Ash Blossom, attempting to stop you from summoning with Ecclesia, it also doesn't matter what you go for. Usually, I tend to go for Moye, Link 1, Xishao Link 2, Xishao, in this case, adds Longyang, Moye draws randomly. Use the Longyang, pitch that Aura, summon the Longyang with its token, synchroing off into Baron in defense position to protect it from Lightning Storm. Longyang activates, you burn your opponent. Then you can go for Emergence. And in this case, it depends what it kind of depends what you go for, honestly. Because you can go into Ashuna to continue your plays with the tennies, like some use Ashuna, banish Ashuna, summon a tenny, use the tenny and the Ashuna. Well, no, use the tenny and the monk to summon shaman if you have shaman. It depends, but in this case, since I'm running the version that doesn't have shaman, I'm gonna add Protoss and summon Protoss by banishing one Adhara, one Moye, and well, not the Moye, one Ecclesia and one Longyang. Since I don't know what my opponent is using, I'll just call Dark. And that's it. Set it, cross out, and you can also use the Adhara in the grave to add back one of your banished worms, and that's it. You have a board with an Omni Negate, a Dark Clock, a Monster Negate, a Pseudo Omni Negate, and Max C. This combo is pretty generic, it's pretty normal, it's probably one that you'll go for most of the times. Sorry, I haven't used this in so long. Now for second and so in this hand we drew Maxi, Ghost Bell, and Impermanence. In this case, we're going to end with the board really close to the last one, with Moye, reveal Ishuna, summon the token. With these two, you go into Shishao to get the search off. In this case, since you don't have anything that stops Ash Blossom, you go Shishao Link 1, Moye Link 2. But you can also, this is a fun little trick that's, you might use it, but it's not really recommended. You can try to chain block with Max C. It's a bit funny, but you can try to do that. And with this, you get to draw, you get Yat. You obviously add Longyang, pitch the Shuna, summon the token. Here, you go for Vessel of the Dragon Cycle, pitching anything you want. Honestly, I would say Taya here, and add a monster, most likely Adhara. And then you go into Baron the floor, or if you want, you can go into but if you want, you can go into Shaman play, if you have Shaman in your extra deck, obviously. Uh, summon Shaman. No, use the Shuna to get Danny, yada yada yada. It's a bit hard to demonstrate, but your objective is to get the Taya out of the graveyard and then banish a monster or a spell or whatever, summon the Taya and summon Draco Berserker. Well, this field is not as powerful as the previous one. You have one Omni Negate, two Monster Negates, Maxi, and Ghost Spell. It's not as powerful as the last one, but it's still really strong. Once again, me going to the wrong thing. Now, for this end, this is where things get a bit more tricky. You have two of the tennies. You have Taya and you have Moye. You also have Called By. So Called By is here to protect you, so you don't have to worry about anything. In this situation, most likely we'll go Shuna, Link into Monk, into summoning Vishuddha, into summoning Moye, using Moye to reveal the Taya, summoning the token, summoning Shishao, Chainlink 1, Moye Chainlink to Shishao, Shishao adds the Longyang, Moye draw, use Longyang, pitch the Taya, summon the token and Longyang, summon Baron, summon Longyang, use the effect of Longyang, obviously, banish Ashuna, summon an Adhara, and here you go for Draco Berserker, following this, you banish the three Swordsoul from your grave, you summon Protoss, and here with Protoss, first I would hold on and use Adhara to get one of the worms back, most likely Moye, and here, because Draco Berserker is a dark, I would call Earth, since it's the attribute that will cause the least amount of damage to your board. Even though it's not a really common attribute to come by nowadays, it's still really, really helpful. So you end up having a monster banish, an earth lock. Well, you can also try to go for a dark lock. Unfortunately, you'll have to get rid of your Draco Berserker, or you'll summon something else like Baxia or Shishao. If you didn't use your Call by the Grave, you have a Call by the Grave, a Monster Negate, and an Omni Negate. It's still pretty powerful. Now for this hand. This hand is a tricky one. Well, kinda. So this is one of those hands that when you look at it, you have no idea what you'll do. You have Ghost Ogre, you have Ash Blossom, you have Cross Out, you have Called By, and you have a Shuna. You have no idea what you can do with this. Here, you have Cross Out and Called By to protect you. Also Ghost Ogre and Ash Blossom. Uh, more often than not, obviously you start with a Shuna, no matter what. But here, more often than not, I would summon. I would use my normal summon on Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. And here comes the funny part, because Ghost Ogre and Ash Blossom are tuners. You can go into Alky Fabrics, summoning the Alky Fabrics, allowing you to summon the Deskbot from your deck, uh, making it possible for you to use the Deskbot and Alk to summon Auroradon. Auroradon summons the 3 tokens, allowing you to summon the Deskbot from the graveyard. By the way, it doesn't matter which players special summon the machines. Deskbot, the Deskbot 001 will always be able to return when 2 or more machines are special summoned to the field. So if you're facing the bane of all sorry, Numeron, you can special summon the Deskbot of their special summoning of the Numeron gates. It's kind of helpful. And here, once again, things get tricky. You have a free a free level 10, which is pretty nice, pretty awesome. But then you are forced to pass with Ash Blossom and something else, or you could probably go into an Ashuna play. Use Ashuna, summon Vishuda, and Deskbot, summon Shishao. Shishao adds a card. Here I would recommend Summit. Wait, actually, let me. No, not Summit. Um, honestly, this this situation is a bit tricky because you can go into Summit, summon Vishuda, or you can have Taya or Moye or Longyang, or you can have Blackout, or you can use Emergence to get a monster, to get a worm from the deck, any worm. Honestly, this situation ends up being a really tricky, because you can either go for the Shishao play like I've done here, or you could go Ashuna into Adhara, and then with Adhara you can go into other plays. It ends up being tricky. This deck is simple, but it has a really high skill ceiling, as we can see in this example. Here, Here I would banish the Blackout, allowing Blackout to summon a token. Now you have now you can get Shanging, or you can go into get into Shanging, stop, and then you can do many more plays. You have to stop your turn there, or you can go into Yazi, and here comes a fun part. You summon Yazi. If it's your opponent's turn, you can use Yazi pop itself, summon something else. But if it's your turn, you don't go Yazi. You go obviously Shanging, uh, and have a big boss monster that is R2 out on the board. So yeah, once again, this deck is has a lot of possibilities. You have a lot of stuff that you can do. You just have to use your creativity. Uh, and finally, we'll do one more end. This end is very alike to the first one. Let me just get another one. It's the same. Oh god. Uh, hmm. Hmm. Okay, I think I know what I can do in this with this. So first activate emergence, add Moye, summon Moye, use Moye, reveal a Shuna. You don't want to give them information that you have your Longyang. Information is always key. Now in this situation, go for Vessel, because you already have your because you already have a non-effect monster in your field, that being your token. Vessel, send Taya to the graveyard, and adding, in this case, I would say Vishuddha for the case of simplicity. You can also go for Adara for another play. With this, you have done 2 summons only, so to stop Nibiru, I would say go Longyan, pitch Vishuddha, or Ashun, or wherever you have. Special summon Longyan and its token. Summon Baron the Floor to stop a potential Nibiru. Now go for Shishao. Shishao, and Moye activate. Shishao draw. Shishao gets the summit. In this case, we kind of got lucky that we got Ash Blossom. Well, I say kinda. And now we activate Summit. We summon Taya. Taya uses its effect, banishing the Summit or the Emergence to summon its token. Then the spell activates, allowing you to increase a level or decrease a level. And with this, you go into Shen Shen, stopping your opponent from from sending cards to the graveyard, and there it is. You have one monster negate, one omni negate, one search slash special summon negate, and maxi. It's a really strong board. Depending on what you open, you can also get Protoss and Blackout in. It's really strong, and that's it. I plan on making more videos about on this deck in the future, showing replays and teaching other stuff that I might find. And once they add Qixing, no, yeah, I honestly don't know the name. Once they add the other form of Longyang to Master Duel, I'll make another video on the deck updated to have that version of Longyang. Of course, it will not be as lengthy as this one. It will be more focused on the combos that you can do and the reasoning about the changes on the deck. But yes, this will be it for this video. It's quite lengthy, I know, but I wanted to make sure I could teach as much as possible about the deck and some of its combos. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something new, and that you can share my passion about this deck. And I'll see you guys in the next video.